Today we explore the founding history of the World Economic Forum, its founder and its latest marketing material for the ultimate wealth transfer, the Great Reset.
So let's dive on in. Now, this channel provides global macro insights and champions the importance of sound money in a world gone crazy, so please do consider subscribing. Now, the World Economic Forum is getting a lot of attention right now, and I for one see this as a very good thing because they have a particular interest in shaping and moulding and perhaps even forcing us towards a future economy which seems rather dystopian, to say the least. Yet it's worth noting that the organisation itself, as far as I see it, is very much a Bilderberg-like community. The annual Bilderberg meeting consists of around 150 members in attendance each year, with a much smaller core of members at its heart. In contrast, the annual WEF meeting attracts as many as 3,000 members. Thus, I rather look at the WEF as a mouthpiece for the more secretive Bilderberg organisation, who meet under Chatham House rules, allowing the participants to use any information they gain during the meeting, but not to disclose the names of the speakers or any other participants. Helpfully, Wikipedia produces a list of all former participants, and these members are said to work towards an agenda bolstering a consensus around free market, Western capitalism and its interests around the globe. Checking their meeting agenda of their organisation, we certainly see a great deal of overlap with the work that we have already discussed of the WEF. And that's no surprise when we consider that Klaus Schwab is a former member of the Bilderberg Steering Committee. But let's just understand a little more background about the WEF. Now, in this document, the World Economic Forum, which organises the Davos Summit every winter in Davos, Switzerland, started out as the European Management Forum, the EMF, in 1972. The chairman of the EMF was a German banker by the name of Dr. Hermann J. Abs. Now, Manico64, in a great blog post here, points out that the book, The Tower of Basel, which discusses Dr. Abs on pages 153 and 154, states that the members of the Committee for the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, for Foreign Economic Affairs included Hermann Abs of Deutsche Bank as the most powerful commercial banker in the Third Reich. And this is backed up on Wikipedia, where it states that he was a member of the board of directors of Deutsche Bank from 1938 to 1945, as well as of 44 other companies, including IG Farben. As the most powerful commercial banker of the Third Reich, he was, according to economic journalist Adam Labor, the linchpin of the continent-wide plunder that took place. The Allies arrested him as a suspected war criminal on the 16th of January 1946. However, British intervention got him freed after 3 months, despite a detailed report that would be published later. After World War II, 1957 through to 67, he was chairman of Deutsche Bank once again and contributed to the reconstruction of the German economy. And it's worth just exploring briefly the notorious company IG Farben, where Wikipedia states the IG Farben's plant workforce consisted of slave labour from Auschwitz, leased to the company by the SS for a low daily rate. One of IG Farben's subsidiaries supplied the poisoned gas Zyklon B that killed over 1 million people in gas chambers. Now, in 1972's European Management Forum, remember the predecessor to the World Economic Forum, the meeting chairman was none other than Hermann J. Abs, chairman of Deutsche Bank. The WEF document goes on to state that the most prominent European business leader at that time had to cancel his participation at short notice. As a last resort, Klaus Schwab filled the vacancy. It seems entirely plausible that Dr. Abs, then in his 70s, was very likely to have been a mentor to Klaus, who was at that time in his 30s. So Klaus Schwab, the WEF's founder, was born in Ravensburg, Germany in 1938 and studied economics and, at the behest of his father, engineering. After studying in Germany, Schwab travelled to the US to attend lectures at Harvard. Here he made some key contacts that he was able to later use, which included Henry Kissinger. His father had been managing director for a Swiss engineering company, Escher Wyss, who continued operating in Germany throughout World War II. But it's quite remarkable how little information seems to be available on Klaus's father. It would seem entirely plausible as an industrialist that he would have been in contact with Dr. Abs. And so the stated intention of the World Economic Forum, as it became known in 1987, was to bring together European CEOs and US business experts to discuss the latest management approaches and techniques. The forum would also promote interaction between corporate management and stakeholders. Today, those stakeholders, of course, range from central bankers to politicians to charity, NGO and corporate executives. Hence why the WEF can effectively be seen as blending politics, charitable causes and capitalism towards common goals determined by our central planners. And this is really where I draw exception to the goals of the World Economic Forum. That it is about central planning. It assumes that all markets fail and we need a new form of capitalism and an economic system altogether. And so while there's plenty of problems with our current economic system, they don't seem to want to address those problems. Instead, they want to redesign the system to reconfirm their position at the top of the pyramid. And so Klaus states that the pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine and reset our world. An opportunity to capitalise on the destruction of so many small and medium-sized businesses. But such a statement also seems to ignore the fact that the WEF appear to have played such a pivotal role in determining the form of capitalism and economic structure we currently find ourselves with right now. Now, in June 2019, the WEF signed an exclusive partnership agreement with the United Nations to accelerate the implementation of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which has been adopted by all 193 UN member countries. The rise of the World Economic Forum has really been remarkable. Over the course of 50 years, it's grown from a small 3-person office in Geneva to a global organisation, with a membership whose combined annual turnover and economic power is in the tens of trillions of dollars, dwarfing the size of nation states. Klaus Schwab, its founder and is still its executive chairman 50 years on, has unparalleled access to political leaders across the world. And the excellent blog Winter Oak puts it slightly differently, stating that the partnerships which the WEF creates are aimed at replacing democracy with a global leadership of hand-picked and unelected individuals whose duty is not to serve the public but to impose the rule of the 1% on that public with as little interference from the rest of us as possible. So instead, they would rather quash, reset and rebuild a new economic system based on digitisation of almost everything, enhanced artificial intelligence and centralisation of power, ownership and ultimately control. And few things have been quite as revealing as the video that the WEF released of what the world may look like in 2030 with the infamous words, "You'll own nothing and be happy." And so how could such a wealth transfer be facilitated? Well, of course, it's taking place right now. The central planners have imposed a system over the last year of wealth transfer, and the WEF acknowledges just that in this chart, where we can see that the proportion of people living in these different dollar amounts per day has increased markedly in each boundary. But the stock market performance also confirms this silent wealth transfer for those prepared for the so-called fourth industrial revolution. At the same time, traditional business models are deemed to be outdated for this new model. And these stats tell us all we need to know. And the irony of ironies here is that those who are now criticising the failures of our current economic model and offering us the solution are those that devised this system in the first place. For to create a new system, you must destroy the old system first. Now, the impact of such policies is that the populace becomes more compliant and dependent upon handouts from the government, Marxist monetary theory, and control over people's behaviour via some sort of Chinese social credit system, which rewards those who honour the party and punishes those who do not consent. And so if we now consider some of the marketing material on the Great Reset, which celebrates how green lockdown is while seemingly revelling in the destruction of the aviation and travel industry, no doubt about it, Klaus's foresight is something to behold, having had this site registered in 2016. But perhaps even more disturbing is the marketing material developed on behalf of the WEF by Purpose Disruptors, a UK-based eco-friendly marketing agency. Just look at this image. Is this a lamb for the slaughter? Automation everywhere, surveillance systems, 5G, an all-seeing eye, high-rise buildings, and on-screen consumption, while those not on the conveyor belt appear to have a very different fate. So to combat this, we must become unconquerables, people with minds and hearts uncolonised by the new orthodoxies of political correctness and fear-inducing MSM narratives, those who undertake peaceful revolt against the cabal and its authoritarian ideologies. For I am reminded of a famous quote by Montague Norman, the former governor of the Bank of England, who said on the 26th of August 1924 as he addressed the US Bankers Association, and remember this was 5 years prior to the Great Depression, whose cause was the creation of excess credit and its sudden reversal, which the Federal Reserve oversaw. I'll let you read this quote because it's very, very powerful, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.